Nizaar, Kinsella, Chelsea correspondent for the Evening Standard. Evening, Nizaar.
Evening, how are you doing?
Not bad at all, my man, not bad. Loads to talk about when it comes to Chelsea. I mean, the busiest in the window by far. More players going than coming. Kalidou Koulibaly's move to Al Hilal has been confirmed. He leaves the club. Joke of a question here now. What legacy does he leave?
Well, just leaves a legacy of just the season in general. I guess he's a symbol of that, right? So it's been dreadful, hasn't it? But it's the first one out, and I think many more to come. So I think the only legacy really that's positive is that Chelsea have got him out so quickly, and the Saudi money coming through has been. I think that has been a stroke of luck for Chelsea actually. So but they've taken full advantage of it. So fair play.
No, they certainly have. I mean, it's not just Koulibaly, that Hakim Ziyech. That one looks like it's going to be close to Al Nassr. Mendy looking to go as well. Aubameyang. Looks like all your players that are being offloaded, especially the players of a certain age, look like they're all going to Saudi.
Yeah, I think so. And I think Chelsea have taken advantage of a few things going on. I mean, Saudi want a lot of the best players, these clubs that have all of a sudden a remit to buy players from basically the state, the public investment fund that also owns Newcastle, owns the big four clubs in Saudi Arabia, and they've got like a remit to go for the best talent in Europe, and they're really aiming high. They're going for Benzema, Ronaldo, Messi. They didn't get him. Modric didn't get him, but they're going for these players, and they've got a few over the line. They've got a lot of Chelsea players because of a few factors. One, Chelsea players are famous. They're pretty good, even if they're not doing the business at the minute at Chelsea anyway. So they tick that box. A few of them are older, like you say. And probably a factor that isn't really talked about much is that the three that are going over there, three of the Muslim players, or the three that are being sold, and plus Kante is going for free, 4 different players that are all from Muslim backgrounds. So they may be a bit more open to it than a player without that faith would be. So I think Chelsea have been lucky, yes, but I don't think anything untoward's going on as maybe Gary Neville would have you believe.
It's a tough one, isn't it? Because from a Chelsea perspective, you will think, well, this is great business. You know, there's an opportunity here to move on a load of players that haven't been up to the level required. There is a requirement on Chelsea's part to, of course, raise some funds over the course of the summer as well. And I agree, Nizaar, like, this is good business from Chelsea. They've spotted an opportunity and they've taken advantage of it. But how much of that is going to turn into an ability for Chelsea to go and bring players in? Because based on how they finished last season and the struggles they had, there is work to be done with regards to incomings too.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's quite interesting, actually. I was doing some maths a bit earlier, and Chelsea spent over £600 million last season, which was a world record by far. I think when I've been doing my research about it, I think the next biggest was 350 million over the course of the season. Wow. Chelsea spent over 600 million. So that's how much they've spent. And now they probably will, in the next few days, go up to 150 million in player sales. But even still, if you try to balance the books, they don't fully balance out. So I do think that it's great news for Chelsea. It's great news for Pochettino because he'll have a manageable squad. But I don't think we're going to have this war chest where every single penny is available to spend right away. So, yes, it's been an achievement, but I don't think it's decisive in the transfer window. I'm still thinking, unless Chelsea sells some bigger ones like Mount, which is probably a question mark over it right now. I think that they're going to be sort of moving cautiously. They're going to go for players we know, Nicholas Jackson, Moises Caicedo, and then maybe a goalkeeper after that. So, I'm not expecting as many transfers as the last season for Chelsea, but still expect a fairly exciting one. And it's up to Pochettino then to make something of all these ingredients that he's got from not just this transfer window, but the two that have previously gone.
I mentioned the players that are going to Saudi, so your Koulibalys, your Ziyech, your Kantes, Mendy's. Look, apart from Kante there, I don't think many Chelsea fans will be upset to see the other players go. What about the players that they want to keep, though? Like Mason Mount. Like a lot of Chelsea fans tweeting, texting, give us a call as well, and they're not happy with that one. Havertz, indifferent, because I think some feel that there's a player there or thereabouts, or at least don't sell it to a rival in an Arsenal. What do you make of the business with the players that Chelsea fans don't want to see go?
Yeah, it's quite interesting seeing who they don't want to see go. I mean, Mount, I think rightly so. He's one of their own in a way. He's been at Chelsea since he was a little boy. He's sort of really worn the badge. Really, he's shown a lot of love to Chelsea, I think, throughout his career here so far. It's everything. Like every time I deal with him, I've dealt with a lot of these players, but every time you deal with him, he acts with the utmost professionalism, which reflects really well on Chelsea. So I've always really respected that in him, and he does more commercial activity than anyone else, more media activity than anyone else. He has a real connection with the fans that he actually goes to speak to the fans and makes an extra effort, like somebody like Cesar Azpilicueta does. So it is a bit of a heartbreaking moment that he's leaving. I actually filmed a video of his last moment at Stamford Bridge, and it went sort of viral. It just, you could see the heartbreak on his face that this might be the last time he's in Stamford Bridge. But at the same time, to have that level of emotion means that it's sort of in his mind was coming to an end, and that's really what I believe is the situation right now. So I think he really wants to leave. The relationship isn't great with Chelsea's own new owners as it was as the owners before. I mean, he's one of the lowest paid players in the squad, unbelievably, and he's won Player of the Year 2 times in a row before this season. So I think that it's all very fraught and damaged. So it's going to take a lot of work and many months to fix it. So it's kind of a case of, do Chelsea cash in now? Because Man United are putting really good money down for a player with 1 year left on his deal. And his contract's expiring in a year. So for me, United's fee was pretty fair, I think, but it's been rejected, and there might be an emotional element to it also. I think with Mount, that's the one they really don't want to leave, a lot of fans, but then again, a lot of Chelsea fans have been abusing Mount, week in, week out on social media. So there is a sizable amount of supporters who don't seem to get him either.
Nizaar, is this one of those situations, though, where the ownership could demonstrate a better understanding of Chelsea Football Club, what it stands for, the value of having a homegrown player like Mason Mount, and basically offering him what he deserves? Because you mentioned it there, he is not one of the highest paid players by any stretch of the imagination. I'm not saying because he's homegrown he deserves to be that by default, but this is an example, isn't it, of where fans will look at this and go, you can't really let this guy go because of the DNA of our club and what he represents. Yet the ownership are displaying a bit of a lack of understanding with regards to what these things actually mean to the fans.
I agree with you. I totally do. In terms of that sort of is the thinking of the situation right now. But you've also got to consider that Chelsea have had a long lead time into this. They've had months and months. They've had years and years, two different owners. Abramovich, he's got to take some criticism for this as well, because he's let it get to this stage. And now, you've gone into this new ownership and nothing's been agreed. Maybe you could say our Mount's demands too much. We don't really know, but certainly, the way they're valuing him when Man United come calling, it's very high. So surely this is a player that should be paid a lot. I mean, if you think that a footballer with 1 year left on his deal that doesn't want to renew his contract's worth 65 million, probably if he does renew his contract, he's worth 120 million. So if he's worth 120 million, you give him a contract befitting of a player worth that kind of money, a Jack Grealish level contract or something like that. So I think that there's been, a mishandling of this in some way from Chelsea. There's been generally a mishandling last season. They wouldn't have finished. It's not controversial to say that because they wouldn't have finished 12th if there hadn't been. So I think that this has been one situation that shouldn't have happened and shouldn't have gone to this place. But now we're here. What's the logical decision? And in a way, it might actually be to sell, just pragmatically start again and don't make the same mistakes next time.
Do you think there could be a U-turn though? New manager, Poch would have come in and identified the players that he wants to keep. I think it's clear to see the players he doesn't want. Surely Poch knows Mount. He would have had that conversation about, you could be sort of my captain, my leader going forward, Mr. Chelsea. Do you think there could be a U-turn with this one?
It'll be a U-turn that will take months to build if there is. I don't think we'll see an immediate U-turn. If he signs a new deal come, July the 1st, I think it's going to take months. They're going to have to prove, not just Mauricio Pochettino, who wants to keep him, by the way, but I think the club as a whole needs to, find a way to convince him. He needs to rebuild the relationships with the sporting directors, with the owners. He needs to have a good season under Pochettino. Pochettino needs to push him despite his contract expiring. Chelsea need to improve and not finish outside the European places because, hey, his contract's expiring. He can talk to clubs in 6 months. He doesn't even need to wait the full year. So he's going to have, and when he's available free, he's going to have Real Madrid. He's going to have Barcelona. He's going to have Bayern Munich on top of Man United and maybe Man City and Liverpool and Arsenal. So you could have a situation like that next summer where literally every single of the world's best clubs is coming in for Mount, because on a free transfer, it's a no-brainer, right? So, I think a lot of stuff's going to happen, and for Chelsea to get him to renew his deal, but it's kind of a roll of dice moment, isn't it? Do you accept whatever Man United will bid last and then walk away and say, look, we tried our best, but we're going to have to cash in, or do you gamble and say he might walk for free, or we might somehow turn it around? And right now, speaking now, it doesn't look likely, but maybe a sequence of events could happen that changes the course of his career.
Chelsea, obviously the business club in the window. Look, again, outgoings, incomings, some incomings as well. Nicholas Jackson coming into the club from Villarreal, 32 million. Me and Harry were talking a bit earlier. We don't quite know the role he's going to play. I mean, do you look at him as someone that potentially could start, come off the bench, or maybe be loaned out to likes of Strasbourg? Obviously, look, Chelsea have that link now. What do you expect with Nicholas Jackson?
Yeah, definitely don't think he'll be loaned out. Definitely think it's a first-team signing. I mean, it's not a small amount of money. It's sort of £35 million. So expect him to be in around the first team, probably maybe off the bench initially. But actually, if Chelsea do go into next season with Armando Broja and Jackson as the main two strikers, then it's pretty much a straight battle, really, for who takes that number 9 shirt going forward, because Aubameyang's going to leave, Lukaku doesn't want to stay, Havertz is leaving, and then you're left with pretty much those two. So, he's going to have I think, a fairly big role. I don't really know too much about him either. I broke the transfer in the 16th of June, I was a bit like, I don't really know who this is, but I'm writing about it. So, and I'm being told it's happening. So, thankfully, it's gone through as well. It's a bit of an unknown, really. But this is the Chelsea new regime's kind of MO. They want these kind of guys. They want to push him. It's going to be a younger squad, and you could even see in a few years maybe that there's under 23 players in every position, and maybe even 2 in many other positions. So battling for shirts, battling for spots, and I think that's sort of the vision that Chelsea want, and maybe build a team up from scratch and see where they all mature into.
Nizaar, obviously it's difficult to say at this stage, I accept that, but there are going to be ins, there are going to be outs, but there's got to be an aim for Mauricio Pochettino going into the new season. Is it a step too far to say that Chelsea can go from 12th position back straight into the top 4, or do we need to temper our expectations around what Chelsea can actually achieve given the level of change at the football club?
Well, I think we all know a certain type of football fan that will demand top 4. And I think certainly top 6 club has them. But for me, I think I would be absolutely delighted as a Chelsea supporter if you go and finish 6th, get in the Europa League, then you get, a shot at the Champions League next season through either winning the competition or maybe building a team up a bit better. I think there's still concerns for me. They've sold a lot of players and done well, but I still think certain players are going to be tough to get out the door. I'm looking at Lukaku thinking, where is he going to go? When is he going to go? Is he going to just be sat around in pre-season? Is that going to damage the morale? Is Pochettino going to handle this massive group? There's other parts of the squad as well where I can see issues arising. So I could still see it being quite a turbulent sort of time in between now and when the transfer window shuts. So I'm a bit concerned about that. And I also think maybe the talent level, the trauma of the season, some of the injuries the players have had, are they fit enough? There's a lot of things like that. And then you're just playing one game a week, which it really benefited Chelsea when they won the league in 2017. But that was a club with leaders like, Gary Cahill, John Terry, several others. And I don't know if this group has that really in its makeup. So
and a winning manager as well.
Yeah, and a new manager as well. So I don't know. There's some similarities. There's some differences between that season in 2017 where Chelsea did it without Europe, won the league against the odds, I'd say. But this time, I think that Chelsea are going to maybe struggle through. They're going to have the bad moments. The Premier League's much more competitive now as well. You're looking at Brighton, so well run. Newcastle going strong in the market. So I do have concerns about Chelsea's sort of ability to compete at the top, but as long as they show progress, get top 6, maybe better than, your Brightons, finish above those, Villas, those kind of teams, then I think that's something to build on. And in terms of Pochettino, I'd be impressed with the job he's done if he's managed to achieve that.
Cheers, Nizaar. Appreciate you coming on. Thank you very much. I have no idea what to expect from Chelsea next season.